This is the My Gaming Edge video guide to Demoman rollouts for CP Badlands. Let's start with some important notes about rollouts. Firstly, all of these rollouts can only be done with a standard sticky launcher, as both the charge and targe and the Scottish resistance severely limit your rollout capabilities. And this should go without saying, but every single one of the jumps in this video require you to crouch. Secondly, since the midfight is often the deciding factor in a round, you want to be very conscious of the rollout you're taking. It dictates your positioning, your health, and it heavily influences the damage you can deal during one of the most meaningful parts of a round. Thirdly, diversify your rollouts. Running the same rollout over and over again will become predictable and progressively easier to counter. Also, there's often a change you can make to your rollout to address the problems you observe during the midfight. Finally, please consider that rollouts are not all about speed. As mentioned, positioning and health may be factors that are more important than speed in your rollout. However, Demoman can be the first class to mid, so there is a standard to aim for if you want to take advantage of that. Now, let's get to the jumps. Most medics will prioritize the Demoman in their heal order at the beginning of the round, so you want to make it as easy as possible for your medic to latch onto you. I usually bounce up and down a few times, yell medic, then I set up my first jump. It's recommended that you wait for your buff before you deal any self-damage so you receive the maximum healing rate, have enough health to perform the rest of your rollout without pause. As you can see, you don't need to go any past the door, and you can't go any higher than this overhang. You can roughly control your distance by changing how far away your sticky is from you, and your height by how far off the ground you are when you detonate. You can achieve the right balance for this jump by putting your sticky pretty close to yourself and detonating it just before landing. Since putting the sticky close to yourself also takes more of your health, you're going to be heavily reliant on your buff from your medic. If for some reason though, you generally do not get a large buff in spawn, the other option is to minimize damage altogether. You can do this by doing a 45 damage sticky jump, which is akin to the 27 damage rocket jump. So you put your sticky as far away as possible and detonate right as you start falling. Either way, the doors should be open in front of you and you can prepare for the next jump out of spawn. Your goal for this jump is to get down to the lower exit and get as far into the doorway as possible. There are three main ways to accomplish this. First way puts your sticky on the floor in front of you. The obstacle for this jump is getting past the ventilation pipe, but for the most part, if you are high enough to crash into the side of it, you're going to take fall damage, and that's something to avoid at all times during a rollout. So, minimizing height, put your sticky a little further out, and just like the jump and spawn, you detonate the sticky as you're falling down. The second way puts your sticky on the right wall in the spawn doorway. Put your sticky up right above the halfway line. Walk out a bit and jump and detonate at the height of your jump. Again, for this jump, the obstacle to avoid is the vent, so you may have to curve around to the right. It's also really hard to avoid fall damage when you do this, but it's possible. The sticky on the wall, though, gives you the most distance and the most speed, so if you've got all the other jumps down in your rollout and you still want to shave seconds off, you should start doing this particular jump. The final way puts your sticky on the left edge outside of spawn. Jump off the ledge and detonate after you fall into the same height as your sticky. This way avoids the obstacles of the other two methods altogether, so I recommend this method if you're struggling here or constantly taking fall damage. Alright, here we come to the most challenging jump of the Badlands rollout. Your goal is to get as far down the battlements as you can, but there are just so many ways to go wrong and probably so many different ways to do it right too. But I'll describe the way that I've found the most consistency with this jump. For sticky placement, I find that halfway between the stairs and entrance and somewhere between the caution tape and the stairs is the best, because for this jump you actually do not want a lot of height due to the overhang, so you can put a lot of distance between yourself and the sticky. Detonate right as you jump, though, and head for the right wall. The trick to the jump is air strafing in a right hook shape. You should notice that I hit the top right of the higher stairs, then quickly slide across to the left and go between the lamp and the wall. You'll also notice that I do not pick up the health pack here, but if you need it, go ahead and stop yourself and pick it up. The next jump in the series is the drop down jump, but let's quickly backtrack a few steps to look at one alternate set of spawn jumps that makes use of the upper route rather than the lower main route. This is a rollout to consider if you are really struggling with the stair jump in particular. This is kind of an antiquated rollout, probably used most recently by Solid Snake, but it achieves the same purpose and is much simpler than the lower route too. For the first jump, use the same wall sticky jump from spawn, but detonate without walking far from it. Instead of curving down lower, you want to aim straight ahead and get as far in the doorway as possible. Then from here, it's just a simple low, short distance sticky jump. You can even get in a flashy slide if you want to too. Okay, so now we're at the drop down jump. Your goal is to get onto the diagonal bridge from here. As for sticky placement for this jump, you want to place your sticky at the very bottom of the metal sheet, then walk out the hole and detonate and hold left strafe. It's slightly counterintuitive in that you do not need to jump to do this properly. You simply need to fall out of the hole. If you're not comfortable doing this jump, or you miss your sticky completely, like this, then you should immediately fall down and do a standard sticky jump up. This is far better than taking the risk of missing the jump, because if you miss the drop down jump, you're going to be forced to walk up to the resupply and you're going to lose a lot of time, or you're going to force your medic to heal you over your soldiers, or your team is going to have to improvise a valley push that they may not have been expecting or planning for. I've even seen people crater from missing this jump, which is pretty funny. And you don't want to be that person. Alright, so now you should have the jumps down. That's only the first half of any rollout. Now you have to choose from where you're actually going to attack middle from. I find that tutorials that only teach people how to do one rollout can actually give you some pretty bad habits. So I'm going to give you a look at 5 slightly different rollouts and describe them based on speed, or the time at which you can fire your first damaging shots, and also address the advantages and disadvantages of each. I'm going to do all of these rollouts with 150 health buff, which is realistic in a match, so look for that. The first rollout is the standard house rollout. This is the one you're all familiar with, and it's just as simple as combining the jumps shown before. You can get to mid at 944, which gives you a 2-second advantage on scouts. The advantages of this rollout are that you can arrive with full health, you have a clear shot on the enemy house, and you're much closer to the action, so you can take more of an aggressive approach to mid. It also opens up the possibility to jump past their house to the other side. Some disadvantages though: it's really easy to flank you from below, from the closet, or to get jumped by soldiers from valley. You have very low visibility of their house or valley, so those become even more effective. You're also asking to 1v1 the other demo out of their house, so expect to eat a sticky here. Next is a little deviation on that, in that you go through window. Instead of walking out right onto the point, you can walk down the hallway and attack middle from here. Speed of this is the same as the standard rollout at 944, and the advantages are that you have full health, but you can avoid the early sticky. You still have some sight of their house, but you also have more sight of the valley and the back of their train. Most importantly, you have more protection from being flanked or being bombed. The disadvantages are that it's harder to play aggressive, and you have limited movement to avoid projectiles. Now the drop down window deviation. speed of this one is actually 946. So this is the fastest rollout that I'm going to show you. The advantages are that you can get more stickies out before the enemy arrives, you gain visibility over valley, and as with both the window rollouts, you'll also be able to spam grenades deep into their house. Disadvantages though, you're sacrificing a lot of health for speed, and whenever you go window it can be hard to hit people on the far side of the point or even on the close side of their train. Next is a yard rollout. With this rollout, there's a little bit more time between your jumps, so your buff's going to decay a lot more, so you may want to slow down a bit and wait for a buff right here. Then put a single sticky up on the left wall for maximum distance and speed, as mentioned before. You can also do the same route with a double sticky or an air sticky, but you're more likely to make mistakes, and you're going to lose a lot more health. Speed for this is 943, so it's a little bit slower. The advantages though, you completely avoid the early stickies from the enemy Demoman. You have the most visibility over valley, and you can easily stand on the train. You can also trap up the closet right as you come into mid. Disadvantage of this rollout is that it's a really defensive position, so once you start getting spammed, you're probably going to have to back out, and you won't be able to push forward. And the last rollout is bombing in rollout. So this is a rollout for if you want the pace of mid to be super aggressive. The speed of this is 942, but you're going a little bit further. The advantages, you get the element of surprise, and you'll also land with full health, or at least, or maybe even a little buff. The disadvantages though, you're committing a lot, so there's not much of a chance that you're going to retreat. And yeah, that's it. That's 5 rollouts and how to do the jumps. I hope this will help you master choosing and performing a Badlands rollout. And for one final note, I'll add that one of the beauties of rollouts is that you can practice them in a server all alone. So if you got the time, you might as well devote it to honing your rollout skills. Thanks for watching.